Are you involved in a business or thinking about starting one? Do you know there may be environmental impacts from business activities? According to the Environmental Protection Act of 1996, businesses such as gas stations, rice mills, large-scale agriculture and poultry farms, large-scale mining and forestry operations, hotels, and resorts must be authorized. Persons proposing any of these activities need to submit an application for environmental authorization to the EPA.
Miss Sonia, wait, I want to ask you something.
Oh gosh,
Miss Sonia.
Morning, Miss Cheryl. I'm late for work.
I noticed the other day y'all had a big campaign with them police officers, so shutting down them people barbecue, wedding, dance. Man, how y'all expect these people to make money and survive?
Oh, Miss Cheryl, that is far from the truth. The EPA and the Guyana Police Force are actually working together to ensure that persons who conduct certain businesses and activities are authorized. We've tried to allow them to adhere to the noise regulations.
Well, this gonna be a new law. What law is this?
These laws were always in place. It's now that we're getting all these complaints at the agency, we are trying to enforce them. The Environmental Protection Act has been in place since 1996, and it states that persons and businesses must apply for environmental authorization before operating a sound-making device.
Well, girl, I never know this thing is prior to the law.
So if you're keeping a barbecue or an open-air function, like a wedding or a concert, especially in your community, right, and you're playing a music system, you have to apply for a short-term noise permit. And for persons that operate in a business and you got generators and stuff, you have to apply for a long-term permit. And that is applicable to bars and hotspots and clubs also.
Well, now that you explain it, I understand it. It's unfair to the elderly, sick people, and even them little children.
That is correct. According to the World Health Organization, loud noise can cause stress, sleep deprivation, and hearing impairment. And I'm sure you wouldn't want that.
Oh, now I understand. Thank you for explaining it, Miss Sonia.
For more information, you can contact the EPA at 225-5471 or visit our office at Ganji Street, North Sophia, Georgetown.
At the Environmental Protection Agency, we believe that the environment is everybody's business. We can start caring for our planet by becoming more environmentally friendly in our everyday actions. Here's what you can do. Dispose of waste in a garbage bin. Clean our drains, yards, and carpets regularly. Take a reusable shopping bag to the market. Support local butchers and farmers to reduce packaged waste. Plant a kitchen garden, trees, and flowers. Compost your organic waste. Conserve water and electricity. Carry a reusable water bottle. These little acts are good for your health and that of the environment. Remember, healthy people work better and achieve more, and together, small actions make a big difference. For further information on how you can help, please contact the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Ganji Street, Sophia, or telephone us at 225-5467. You can also visit our website, EPA-Guyana.org, or our Facebook and Instagram pages.
Come around, please.
Morning, my name is Deborah. I just want to get some information.
Good morning. I am Odessa Duncan, Senior Environmental Officer. How may I assist you today?
Tell me something. They got this man next door by me breaking on this big building, and it's bare asbestos in the roof. I could remember hearing on your TV program that asbestos is dangerous to human health and the environment.
This is correct. The Environmental Protection Act states that any person or facility that is storing, treating, transporting, and or disposing of hazardous waste material must be authorized by the EPA to do so.
Oh, but it's now I'm really hearing about this hazardous waste thing. Tell me something more.
Hazardous waste are waste material with properties that are dangerous or capable of having a harmful effect on human health and the environment, including things like paint, fertilizers, and pesticides, waste oil, and asbestos. These things have the potential to cause cancer, birth defects, kidney failure, and reproductive impairment, with children being at the highest risk. The environmental authorization in this case gives the legal right to transport, store, and dispose of this material in accordance with the EP Act Chapter 2005 Laws of Guyana. Now, this ensures you and your operation and your process is safe for the environment and human health.
So you mean to tell me that all them leftover Christmas paint that I got on in my kitchen sink, I need authorization from EPA to get rid of it?
No, Miss Deborah. These items, once used for household purposes, does not require environmental authorization from the EPA. However, you should still take necessary steps to ensure that these materials are stored and disposed of in an environmentally safe manner.
Thank you so much for the information. I go in and tell him that he needs an environmental authorization. Thank you.
Welcome to another episode of The Environment Matters. I am your moderator, LaDonna Kisu. The Environment Matter is a monthly feature which highlights the work of the agency and encourage you to do your part to protect our beautiful country, Guyana. Thank you for joining us for this episode. I do hope that you and your families are keeping safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. I am elated to tell you that the EPA celebrated two very significant occasions on June 5, 2001. Those are World Environment Day and the EPA's 25th anniversary. This month's feature will not only highlight the EPA's journey so far, but it will also bring awareness on World Environment Day. We will not only hear about some of the accomplishments of the agency, but we will discuss the 2.5 decades of existence, as well as some of the plans that mark this momentous occasion. So let's talk about 25 years of serving this beautiful country of Guyana. The Environmental Protection Agency was established in 1996 following a disastrous environmental occurrence at the Omai Mining Company in August 1995. Where 800 gallons of cyanide was spilled into two holding ponds. The then late President, Cherry Jagan, declared the area an environmental disaster zone and requested assistance from international companies. This disaster hastened the formation of the Environmental Protection Act, Chapter 2005, in Parliament, which gave birth to the Environmental Protection Agency. The Act gives the agency the responsibility to manage, conserve, and protect the environment, and entails that we take action to prevent and control pollution and to assess economical development. The EPA in 1996 operated as a small environmental unit out of the Office of the President. Thereafter, they shared the premises with the Institute of Applied Sciences and Technology right here at the University of Guyana. Most of the initial institutional strengthening was done in support of the International Development Bank, who funded the Environmental Management Program Phase 1 project.
In the early stages of the agency's development, the focus was on institutional strengthening. 3 divisions were established in this period, namely the Operations Division, the Education, Information and Training Division, and the Administrative Division. During this initial period of the EPA implemented a sizable public awareness and capacity building project. This was funded by the UNDP and targeted the public, media, teachers, schools, and local government in all administrative regions of the country. Through this project, the EPA interfaced with a wide segment of the population and provided information in a range of formats to raise environmental awareness and knowledge of the population. This was an exciting period for the EPA as it immersed itself in the setting up of the agency and the development of the requisite tools to support its work. Then, as now, the EPA had a cadre of energetic and enthusiastic staff who did not hesitate to go the extra mile for the work of the agency. This was the period when the agency kicked off its first Green Walk in 1999 to mark World Environment Day. Around 2000-2005, a critical review of the EPA's organizational structure was undertaken to better align it with its wide mandate to ensure that the functional divisions were structured and coordinated. As a result, the Natural Resources Management Division was established to coordinate the conservation and sustainable use of natural resources with a strong focus on biodiversity, protected areas, and wildlife. Also, the Operations Division was renamed the Environmental Management Division with three primary focal areas: authorizations, response, and research and development. Notably, the staff complement had increased over this period, resulting in the agency setting up an annex to its main office at Earls Avenue, Sobrianville, Georgetown, for its NRMD and EITD divisions.
This location, located at 263 Earl Street, Sobrianville, once housed the Environmental Protection Agency Natural Resources Management Division, which focused on biological diversity, conservation, and management, and also the agency's Education, Information, and Training Division, along with its Special Projects Unit.
The agency developed its second strategic plan for the period 2006-2011 and acquired a number of essential equipment under the project to enhance its operational performance. The Guyana Protected Area System project, funded by the Global Environment Facility, was implemented with co-financing from other donors agencies. The project supported delineation of the Shell Beach and Canacool Mountain protected areas and drafting of the protected area bill.
In 2008, the agency moved to 7 Smythe and Broad Street, Charleston, where it functioned for 3 years before moving to its current location. This space is now home to the Child Care and Protection Agency.
There was successful implementation of a number of projects through the KFW Small Grants Project, Global Environmental Facility, and other donors. Projects done during this period include the drafting of the Wildlife Management and Conservation Regulations, development of the National Biodiversity Research Information System, NBRIS, completion of the Biosafety Clearinghouse Project, and the commencement of the Biodiversity Enabling Activity Project, among others. The agency benefited from significant institutional strengthening and capacity building through the networking mechanism. In addition, improved operational systems were enhanced internally with its officers.
During the period of 2011 to 2015, the agency moved to the Ministry of Public Works location right here in Sophia. During that time, the agency saw the establishment of the Wildlife Conservation and Management Regulation along with the Litter Enforcement Regulation. It was during that time that the agency also implemented its litter program as well as developed its third National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan.
The Environmental Protection Agency began the year 2012 under the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment, where some staff were assigned to the Pick It Up Guyana campaign. The revised National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan and the 5th National Report, CBD, were completed. On April 22nd this year, Guyana ceded to the Nagoya Protocol, the 30th country and the first in the Caribbean to do so. The Environmental Protection Agency conducted a major teachers training workshop in Region 9, reaching some 30 teachers and 16 communities in the North Rupununi to build their capacity to build environmental education in the school curriculum. The EPA fully met its target of conducting community composting training sessions with the assistance of an expert of St. Cuthbert Mission and at the Guyana School of Agriculture in Anna Regina, Region Number 2.
During this period, the EPA restructured its program to better align with its mandate and prepare for the transformation to manage more and bigger projects with the advent of the oil and gas sector. Offices were opened in Berbice and Linden to bring its services to these areas. The agency began to ready itself to authorize and monitor the oil and gas sector. A State of Environment report in 2016 was prepared and the access to benefit sharing regulations finalized. The mainstreaming project came on stream and saw prioritization of mining hotspots for monitoring and enforcement based on biodiversity parameters, support the uptake of biodiversity-friendly practices by miners. Partnerships and networks were established and many crucial international partnerships were forged to monitor offshore oil projects. For example, with International Offshore Petroleum Environmental Regulators, IOPER, Energy Agency, IAEA, the International Association of Impact Assessment, IAIA, Air and Waste Management Association, AWMA. The agency has been provided with major technical and capacity support through these partnerships. Additionally, the agency expanded its public awareness tools through its own television program and environmental magazine. Also, the collaboration with the local authorities continued with the training for honorary litter wardens.
enjoy this video on World Environment Day, and we will be right back to chat with Miss Aretha Ford.
We are rapidly reaching the point of no return for the planet. We face a triple environmental emergency: biodiversity loss, climate disruption, and escalating pollution. For too long, humanity has cut down the Earth's forests, polluted its rivers and oceans, and ploughed its grasslands into oblivion. We are ravaging the very ecosystems that underpin our societies, and in doing so, we risk depriving ourselves of the food, water, and resources we need to survive. The degradation of the natural world is already undermining the well-being of 3.2 billion people, or 40% of humanity. Luckily, the Earth is resilient, but she needs our help. We still have time to reverse the damage we have done. That is why, on this World Environment Day, we are launching the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. This global movement will bring together governments, businesses, and civil society and private citizens in an unprecedented effort to heal the Earth. By restoring ecosystems, we can drive a transformation that will contribute to the achievement of all the Sustainable Development Goals. The task is monumental. We need to replant and protect our forests. We need to clean up our rivers and seas. And we need to green our cities. Accomplishing these things will not only safeguard the planet's resources, it will create millions of new jobs by 2030, generate returns of over $7 trillion every year, and help eliminate poverty and hunger. The United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration is a global call to action. It will draw together political support, scientific research, and financial muscle to massively scale up restoration. And everyone can contribute. Science tells us these next 10 years are our final chance to avert a climate catastrophe, turn back the deadly tide of pollution, and end species loss. Today, let's start a new decade, one in which we finally make peace with nature and secure a better future for all.
World Environment Day is the United Nations' principal vehicle for education and awareness on environmental issues. Celebrated since 1974, every year on June 5th. This year, World Environment Day is celebrated under the theme Restore the Earth. And joining me in studio is Ms. Aretha Ford, an environmental officer from the Environmental Protection Agency, and she will be sharing her knowledge on World Environment Day. Welcome, Aretha.
Thank you so much, Rodana. It's strange to be on this side of the table.
Yes, it's a pleasure having you here. I think this is my first time interviewing you on this platform. So it's a pleasure, and I hope our little chat is as entertaining for me as it is going to be for our viewers. So World Environment Day, could you share with us, first of all, what are your thoughts on World Environment Day and how we as Guyanese can become part of this environmental celebration?
Well, I'm usually super excited for World Environment Day, not only because it's the largest environmental observance, but because it coincides with EPA's anniversary. But you know, this year, the observations, the celebrations are a little bit somber because of what is currently going on, not only globally with the COVID-19 pandemic, but what is happening locally with the flooding situation. And so, I'm a bit disheartened this year, but nonetheless, the show must go on. And I am happy to be part of the team that is executing activities for World Environment Day. As you stated, it's a UN observance. It is the largest UN observance that is intended, like all other environmental days, to bring awareness to a particular environmental issue and to encourage action, because it's not enough now for us to just be aware, but we need to act on changing and fixing the things that we know are wrong.
Great. So I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that, we're in these not very strange, but unfamiliar times. So with World Environment Day being a celebration
for nature more so. And during these very unprecedented times, do you see that there's a need to focus our attention, particularly since human activities more so have continued to influence all that is happening around us? So that's the first thing. What is it that we see we are influencing to cause or to add to the destruction of the environment? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so we as humans being in the past few decades being driven by a materialistic consumer lifestyle have really gone above and beyond to destroy ecosystems in a bid to harvest resources, whether it's in our forests, whether it's in our oceans, or activities like over-harvesting of fishes, whether it's indiscriminate logging, unsustainable mining. And yes, there is such a thing as sustainable mining. You know, we need to conduct our activities in a way that we can provide enough for ourselves now and still have for the future generation to benefit from. And, you know, there are a number of other activities from deliberate fires in the Amazon. And, you know, for those who tune in, the list goes on and on regarding human activities that cause degradation to our natural environment. And so we need to, as a species that depend so much on the environment, we depend on our environment for everything: food, shelter, medicine, clean air, clean water. And, you know, we need to stop. I do believe, you know, that there is an opportunity for us with the COVID-19 pandemic and everything being slowed down and us being shut in. It provides an opportunity for us to stop and really think about how are we treating the environment, how are we treating nature, what are the things that we need to do to reverse the trends of biodiversity loss. So every Guyanese, every citizen of planet Earth needs to be involved.
Great. So, you know, with addressing these issues that we would have created or that we contribute to, and I know we contribute to it on a daily basis, which is really heart-rendering, what is it that we as a country and we as a people, and even for the EPA, what is it that we would have done throughout the years to reverse this, you know, great phenomenon that is happening globally, that affects not only Guyana, but affects the world? Because as it is right now, we've seen so much water in certain regions, and there's a lot of questions as to why is that the case and how exactly is it that we can now look to fix it so that in the future it doesn't happen. So what has the country done in the past or even doing now to assist or reverse environmental impacts?
All right, well, Guyana has long been a leader, not only in the region, but globally in the field of environmental management and biodiversity conservation. And we can look all the way back to 1929 with the establishment of the first legally protected area in Guyana, the Kaieteur National Park. We can look at, you know, our commitment to the environment when we attended the Rio Summit in 1992, and we signed on to those conventions, those 3 conventions that looked at the prevailing environmental issues that we're still grappling with. We can look to even the establishment of the Environmental Protection Agency as a signal to our serious commitment as a country to protecting the environment, setting up institutions that look at specific environmental issues, ensuring that there's a legal mechanism for environmental protection. So whether it's signing on to global environmental agreements, whether it, you know, was setting up local legislation such as the Protected Areas Act, the Wildlife Bill, the suite of legislation that falls under the Environmental Protection Act. I can go on and on, but I must mention, our principal achievement, that is the crafting, the developing and implementation of the low carbon development strategy, which sought to seek payment for ecosystem services. So we are preserving our rainforest and being paid for it. So I think that covers, the big, really big things that we as a country have done. And, if I missed anything.
Actually, I do think you would have touched on it. In our last episode, we did talk a little bit about, things like the Convention on Biological Diversity and the West-Kazo Agreement, and we did talk about the protected areas and stuff. So we have been doing quite a lot with regards to, ensuring that our environment is protected and the earth is there for generations to come. As always, there is still much more that can be done, and it's just a matter of getting your support. So, World Environment Day, I did make mention that the theme is Restore Earth. So could you elaborate a little bit more about the theme? Because I know there's some sub-themes in there.
Yes.
So yes, let's hear a little bit more about the theme.
All right, so the theme for this year is so fitting when we think about the global environmental issues that we are still facing years and years after the Rio Summit. Restore Earth is a signal to us that there is a broken relationship that we have with nature that needs to be repaired in order for us to continue to survive as a species. Right? And so, I think back when we not too long celebrated Earth Day under the theme Restore Our Earth, which to me says we collectively have to take part in this effort. And on World Environment Day, the UN would have launched the Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. So this is not a one-off effort. It's a 10-year process, and of course, we'll need to continue beyond the decade. But for me, World Environment Day, the theme, Restore Earth, is so significant in this time.
Definitely, and I'm glad that you made mention of, the involvement of ecosystems. So just to remind persons that an ecosystem is basically our biotic and abiotic factors just living all together. So that means me, you, the rocks, the fishes, the birds, all animals and plants just being able to coexist on this beautiful earth. So under the large theme, Restore the Earth, I know there is the smaller sub-themes which include reimagine, recreate, and restore, right?
Yes.
So yes, could you elaborate a little bit on all three aspects of it? Why is it so important under the restoration of the earth to reimagine, recreate, and restore?
Right. So we need to reimagine the way we do things. We need to look at old technology and find ways of improving how we do things. We need to recreate. We need to look at things like afforestation and reforestation, ensuring that when we clear tracts of land, that we backfill and replant. And we need to restore. We need to restore. We need to fix what we've broken so that we do not continue to face these environmental crises of our own making. And my mind, as we're chatting, my mind is going to these documentaries that were produced by the BBC called Our Planet. And I think if every person has a look at that series, they will be so inspired to take action, because our planet is so beautiful. There's so many amazing creatures that we share this planet with, that we take for granted. There's things that we have done over the decades. We're actually in the era that scientists call the Anthropocene, which speaks to this era of how humans have changed the landscape of Earth. And, you know, in his narration, Sir David Attenborough, the natural history person, he would have indicated, he's really old, right? But, you know, that's something good. That's something good.
Yes,
right?
with age comes knowledge, that's for
and
certain.
wisdom.
Yes.
And he has shared his journey as a natural history scientist throughout the years and really shown us how our activities have changed the landscape of the planet. So I would encourage persons, you know, not only for World Environment Day, but throughout the year, that they should look at this series.
Definitely. So, you know, this is our moment to reimagine, recreate and restore. We can definitely do our part. We can take back control of, you know, what we do, so we can continue to plant trees. We can continue to grow and nourish our kitchen gardens. We can definitely look out for those litter bugs. And we can continue to, you know, foster community work to clean our streets and our canals and our waterways. We can definitely do our part. So with World Environment Day and the Environmental Protection Agency celebrating its 25th anniversary, yes. What activities does the agency actually have planned to celebrate this very auspicious occasion?
All right. Well, first off, happy anniversary to the EPA. I know persons may not have the level of appreciation that we want for the work that the agency does. So the first activity that we planned and we're actually executing is the recognition of staff to show persons that there are people behind this entire system to preserve and protect Guyana's environment. So throughout the month of June, we'll be featuring staff of the agency, and you know, they'll be sharing quotes that really resonate with them. And most of these speak to the need to protect the environment. In addition to that, we'll have a very simple ceremony because, you know, persons, we usually do big things.
Yes.
And I was going back to the year when we had 3 major celebrations. We had the National Youth Conference, we had a celebration of EPA's 20th anniversary, and then we had the youth exchange between clubs in the North Rupununi and those in Georgetown. But nonetheless, we're in 2021, and so
we're managing. We're adapting to the present situation. Yes.
And so we had to scale down our activities, of course, because of COVID restrictions. So we'll have a simple ceremony in our boardroom just for the staff. We will be going out into the streets and, you know, testing persons' knowledge of what they know about the environment. Yes. We'll have scavenger hunts for teams in Linden and Berbice, where the sub-offices of the EPA are located. And of course, we'll be sharing on our social media platforms information coming out from UN Environment on the decade. And we'll also have our regular media activities, the radio and television interviews. I encourage persons to tune in when we're live, and of course, head back to our social media platforms if they didn't have a chance to see the interviews. And of course, persons should look out for our news spread and newspaper article.
Definitely. So there are a lot that is actually happening and a lot that you guys can definitely look forward to. As is always, feel free to contact the Environmental Protection Agency if you have any questions, comments, or concerns related to anything more so specific today as we're chatting on World Environment Day. Thank you so much for joining me in studio, Arita. It was a pleasure talking with you. We have for you guys a video from the United Nations on World Environment Day. So please do enjoy.
For the second year running, we mark World Environment Day in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. But as we seek to move from crisis to recovery, we must take deliberate steps to improve human health and the health of the natural world. Because we know that many of the challenges we face stem from the degradation of our land, our soils, our water bodies, our forests, and our oceans. On World Environment Day, along with FAO and partners, we're proud to launch the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Our aim? To prevent, to halt, and to reverse the degradation of ecosystems worldwide. We seek to spur political support, generate science, and mobilize financial resources for the largest ever mass-scale restoration of our ecosystems. In reviving millions of hectares of terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, we will profoundly improve human well-being and accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. I am so pleased that Pakistan, as a global host of the World Environment Day this year, will lead the global charge to restore ecosystems on which we all depend. So this World Environment Day, let's all join in, because people and nature can heal together.
Thank you for tuning in to The Environment Matters. Remember, this program will be rebroadcasted right here on NCN and on eNetworks Channel 1. Continue to follow us on Facebook for all details regarding date and time. Also, we want to hear from you. Call us on 225-5471 or send us an email. We would like your feedback on our program. Again, happy 25th anniversary to the staff and management of the Environmental Protection Agency. Until next time, Guyana, do stay safe. I have been your moderator, LaDonna Kisoon.
Are you involved in a business or thinking about starting one? Do you know there may be environmental impacts from business activities? According to the Environmental Protection Act of 1996, businesses such as gas stations, rice mills, large-scale agriculture and poultry farms, large-scale mining and forestry operations, hotels, and resorts must be authorized. Persons proposing any of these activities need to submit an application for environmental authorization to the EPA.
I noticed the other day, y'all had a big campaign with them police officers, so shutting down them people barbecue, wedding, dance. Man, how y'all expect these people to make money and survive?
Oh, Miss Cheryl, that is far from the truth. The EPA and the Guyana Police Force are actually working together to ensure that persons who conduct certain businesses and activities are authorized. We've tried to allow them to adhere to the noise regulations.
Well, this gonna be a new law. What law is this?
These laws were always in place. It's now that we're getting all these complaints at the agency, we are trying to enforce them. The Environmental Protection Act has been in place since 1996, and it states that persons and businesses must apply for environmental authorization before operating a sound-making device.
Well, girl, I never know this thing is prior to the law.
So if you're keeping a barbecue or an open-air function, like a wedding or a concert, especially in your community, right, and you're playing a music system, you have to apply for a short-term noise permit. And for persons that operate in a business and you got generators and stuff, you have to apply for a long-term permit. And that is applicable to bars and hotspots and clubs also.
Well, now that you explain it, I understand it. It's unfair to the elderly, sick people, and even them little children.
That is correct. According to the World Health Organization, loud noise can cause stress, sleep deprivation, and hearing impairment. And I'm sure you wouldn't want that.
Oh, now I understand. Thank you for explaining it, Miss Sue.
For more information, you can contact the EPA at 225-5471 or visit our office at Ganji Street, North Sophia, Georgetown.
At the Environmental Protection Agency, we believe that the environment is everybody's business. We can start caring for our planet by becoming more environmentally friendly in our everyday actions. Here's what you can do: dispose of waste in a garbage bin, clean our drains, yards, and carpets regularly, take a reusable shopping bag to the market, support local butchers and farmers to reduce packaged waste, plant a kitchen garden, trees and flowers, compost your organic waste, conserve water and electricity, carry a reusable water bottle. These little acts are good for your health and that of the environment. Remember, healthy people work better and achieve more, and together, small actions make a big difference. For further information on how you can help, please contact the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Ganji Street, Sophia, or telephone us at 225-5467. You can also visit our website, EPA-Guyana.org, or our Facebook and Instagram pages.
Come around, please.
Morning. My name is Deborah. I just want to get some information.
Good morning. I am Odessa Duncan, Senior Environmental Officer. How may I assist you today?
Tell me something. They got this man next door by me breaking on this big building, and it's bare asbestos in the roof. I could remember hearing on your TV program that asbestos is dangerous to human health and the environment.
This is correct. The Environmental Protection Act states that any person or facility that is storing, treating, transporting, and or disposing of hazardous waste material must be authorized by the EPA to do so.
Oh, but it's now I'm really hearing about this hazardous waste thing. Tell me something more.
Hazardous waste are waste material with properties that are dangerous or capable of having a harmful effect on human health and the environment, including things like paint, fertilizers, and pesticides, waste oil, and asbestos. These things have the potential to cause cancer, birth defects, kidney failure, and reproductive impairment, with children being at the highest risk. The environmental authorization in this case gives the legal right to transport, store, and dispose of this material in accordance with the EPA Act Chapter 2005 Laws of Guyana. Now, this ensures you and your operation and your process is safe for the environment and human health.
So you mean to tell me that all them leftover Christmas paint that I got on in my kitchen sink, I need authorization from EPA to get rid of it?
No, Miss Deborah. These items, once used for household purposes, does not require environmental authorization from the EPA. However, you should still take necessary steps to ensure that these materials are stored and disposed of in an environmentally safe manner.
Thank you so much for the information. I go in and tell he that he needs an environmental authorization. Thank you.